Welcome back to Crusty Car News, and have we got some juicy, albeit slightly smelly car news for you this week. First of all, we want to talk about Ford and how they can't sell these trucks or SUVs because of quality problems, pricing, and as well, it's so bad the managers are taking a pay cut. The second story, things have gotten so bad at Stellantis, would you even believe it? Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler are about to go out of business. The third story, I couldn't even believe it if I didn't see it with my own eyes. There are car dealers still trying to hose the buyer. Yes, they're adding market adjustment fees still to this day. The fourth story, would you believe it? Car prices are going to continue to climb. The fifth story, Jeeps cannot sell their vehicles. What are they going to do next?
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
The first story we have today is Ford is simply not selling these trucks, these SUVs. Ford's been struggling with quality challenges where F-150s, 2014 models, your sudden downshifts. We're talking about some of the fuel injector issues in the 1.5 liter turbos. And they're currently crowned king of recalls, battling for top spot with Stellantis. And while some dealers are trying to figure out how to sell their vehicles, many are investing in small vehicles like the Maverick, the Rangers, even base trim level F-150s. And then other dealers are trying to take a long shot, a Hail Mary, and hope that they can sell these high trim level vehicles like these Harley Davidson full-size trucks here with jacked up all kinds of decals, logos, large wheels, lift kits. I can't imagine how many people you're going to probably sell these vehicles to. What does the market look like? We hear the cost of living crisis is eating people alive, and yet we're seeing big inventory of vehicles like these Harley Davidsons piling up on lots. Who's buying these vehicles? What we're seeing is the Maverick are keeping the brand together. What's not? Who's not pulling their weight? Well, Ford Mustang Mach-E is one of those vehicles that has never really sold particularly well. And I'm seeing lots of these online. I'm still seeing 2022 model years, brand new, still with plastic on the seats, are not selling. And they're being advertised for close to sticker price. While the regular F-150 has been selling fairly well, what hasn't been selling well at all is the F-150 Lightning. And we know that's been going on for quite some time. We're dealing with a plug-in. Yes, that's right, pure EV, and not a lot of people who are traditionalists of the brand are looking at buying an electric pickup truck. That's right, the electrification market is teaching Ford who's boss. Sadly, they're having to take some aggressive measures. Even with some huge aggressive price cuts on the F-150 Lightning, a lot of customers still refuse to buy this type of vehicle. And as a result, the CEO is trying to take some strong action, big action. In other words, they've already applied drastic reductions from the factory on a lot of these vehicles on the base model. To make matters worse, the CEO of Ford has admitted that he's been driving around an electric manufactured vehicle, something that was built from China, that was direct competition for Ford in China, and has admitted openly that the product is way ahead and that we have a lot of ground to make up as a North American domestic manufacturer, come even close to competing with the likes from what we're seeing over in China. But on top of it, the F-150 ICE vehicles haven't been selling remarkably well. They've been holding their own, but again, year over year, they've been declining. And the CEO, Jim Farley, has said now they're going to start applying some of these performance metrics. They're looking at improving quality, the speed of reaction, service, and lowering costs, which could reduce bonuses to the managers down to 65% of what they've been accustomed to. So the cost of living crisis is finally catching up, and we're seeing it all over the industry. The worst part is this whole electric vehicle mandate that's coming down fast and furious, whether we have to be converted by 2025, 2030. The bottom line is this mandate to push out a lot of these electric vehicles are forcing these OEMs, and Ford inclusive, to quickly develop, research, and test a lot of these new products that have to make it out to market. The worst part is, while a lot of people decline to buy a lot of these electric vehicles, a lot of people actually refuse to outright buy those and say, I'm only buying internal combustion vehicles. Those shoppers electing to buy the ICE or internal combustion vehicles are doing so by literally supporting the EV initiative. Because as we've said, to build these electric vehicles, Ford claims they're losing a pile of money on the manufacturing of every one of these. Unless Ford's able to make a cheaper, faster, better, more reliable car in the electric vehicle segment, just wait till the chicken tax gets removed and the tariffs start hitting them full stock. Things are going to get ugly. The second story, Do you actually believe me now that finally we're hearing it? Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, sales are in the toilet. Stellantis' revenues and shipments fall again in the third quarter. And just to get everybody in on this sinking ship, Stellantis broadens the employee share purchase plan to the nearly entire global workforce. But you know the clear indications that companies are going out of business when the CEO is getting pushed out, there's juggling at the VP level, and there's layoffs across the board. The worst part is Stellantis is facing multiple headwinds from the fact that many consumers just don't have the trust and the faith in the quality that these brands represent, as well as the high prices means a lot of people are shying away from a lot of the Stellantis products. Many people allege that the tone-deaf approach that the management over at Stellantis has had clearly has led them to their demise. Customers are looking for cost-effective vehicles that are reliable and that clearly that the middle class can buy, because that's initially what Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep products have intentionally been for. The working class, the middle class, the blue collar. And yet, unfortunately, a lot of these vehicles are priced well outside the reach.
And this one here is stickering at about $78,195.
The CEO's taken his walk-in papers and they just can't find a way out of this conundrum. On Thursday, Stellantis just announced its third quarter earnings, and unfortunately, they're down 27% to approximately $35.8 billion from 365 days ago, which is just at a continuing trend of the financial woes that Stellantis is facing. And you know when a company's shares are going in the toilet or the finances are in dire straits, they try to bring more people into the fold for reinvestment and try to re-salvage the financial situation that some of these corporations go through. With that said, Stellantis broadens employee share purchase plan to nearly entire of the global workforce. Yes, there's an opportunity for more than 230,000 employees to become shareholders on preferential terms with a 20% discount on the share price and matching contribution of 100% of the personal amount invested up to €1,000. There's strong incentives for employees to share in the creation of value supporting Stellantis, and the initial threshold of 5% of capital held by its employees. The latest news, the Toledo plant, which manufactures the Jeep Gladiator, is actually having to lay off 1,100 workers coming up right now. These layoffs are the latest in a series of job cuts by Stellantis, reflecting the broader challenges within the automotive industry. The affected workers, members of the UAW union, will receive a supplemental pay and state unemployment benefits amounting to about 74% of their regular income. Earlier in February, Stellantis reduced its workforce by about 1,200 at the Toledo North plant, which produces the Jeep Wrangler. They also reduced their staff by about 2,450 factory workers at the Sterling Heights assembly facility due to the discontinuation of the classic Ram that is being pulled off the market. And according to Reuters, Stellantis added more casualties to the list of massive layoffs by promising another 400 workers to be hatcheted from the Detroit Automotive Parts facility. At this point, is there even a way to save these North American Stellantis products from Jeep, Ram, and Dodge? I'm not sure. Maybe sell them out, maybe liquidate the products. Things don't look very good. The third story, would you believe it? In fact, car dealers are still applying market adjustment fees. Buyers are still getting screwed by the sheer thought of some of these manufacturers are selling vehicles above sticker. I never thought market adjustment fees were even going to continue on until I've started doing some research and found out, in fact, yes, they are. And there's still people paying over sticker and dealers that are still trying to gouge. Who's to blame? Is it the dealers? Is it the OEMs? Maybe it's the buyers. So I'm going to offer some of the worst car deals that you can possibly get right now. And so one of the worst deals is the Toyota GR86. And when I'm looking on here in my statistics, we're finding that people are paying 6% over sticker. So people on average are paying $1,766 over the $31,900 sticker price. Another one, surprisingly, is the Kia Soul. You know, the boxy little car that, or SUV that Kia would put out that was fun, had cute lights, and, you know, it was a real theme type vehicle and certainly appealed to the younger buyer. People are generally paying 7% over sticker, or about $1,576 over the $22,690 sticker price. What I see here is the GMC 1500 Sierra. We know it's one of the most popular trucks. We also know that Chevy, GM collectively are selling more vehicles even than Ford now. But people have, on average, paid as much as $3,379 over The next one is the Audi A4 Allroad. Again, people were paying as much as $3,485 over sticker, and they were paying as much as $51,085, and that's plus, paint protection film, plus mats, plus, extended warranty, plus taxes, PST, GST, VAT. I mean, you name it. What do you think, Daisy? What do you think? Skip it? Yeah, I would skip it too, eh? There's no point you should be paying anything extra, and just shop around. That's really the key. Never overpay.
Not all is lost, and there's a positive light at the end of the proverbial tunnel. You can actually get a vehicle that's more cost effective, more reliable. You may have to go a couple of years older, but likely you're going to save a ton of money. And if you want a new vehicle, you definitely want to make sure that you shop around, get the best deal, get the invoice price, take a couple points off of that, and carve out the best deal possible. Never overpay over the MSRP pricing. Fourth story, why car prices are never ever going to go down. We all have our hopes and dreams that the car bubble is finally going to burst. The sad reality is the increasing levels of technology and reliability that's dropping are the two major factors as to why we're never going to see these vehicles drop in price. But do you think reliability has any connection to this? It doesn't take very long. When you're searching and looking all over the internet, when we see this all the time and talk about the bubble is bursting and car prices are about to go down, but then we're on the other side, we're hearing issues with Toyota and finally with their transmission issues. We're hearing Kia problems. We're hearing bad engine issues. We're hearing all kinds of reliability challenges. Ford, top of the recall king list. Of course, we've seen fuel injectors leaking. We're seeing other problems with transmissions shuttering, dropping down. We're seeing all kinds of technology failures, modules that cost $3,000-$5,000 to replace. The complexity of today's vehicles have something definitely appears to do with reliability. But does it have anything to do with pricing? I mean, it doesn't take very long to look back and think, okay, 2018, 2019 prices for a lot of vehicles were traditionally, you could paint the brush across the entire industry and say, look, this is how it is. We see inflation rate being in that 3-4% year over year. But we're seeing the price increases of most average vehicles, going up 10, 12, 15% year over year. Why is this sudden escalation of the price of brand new vehicles? Why is this going on? The expectation is that you pay more money, you should get a more reliable vehicle. What we're finding now with time, as time goes on, we're getting smaller engines, more complex, more technology, and of course now they're throwing turbocharging in there. Turbos create extra heat. 30 years ago with a V6, plastic probably didn't hurt that much. Now you got that little hot heat sink there with the turbocharger on the exhaust side that creates and generates all this heat, starts to melt plastic parts out of the hood. And while a good engineer would recognize and mitigate that, not every manufacturer is doing that, and we're finding challenges with reliability under the hood. The regulators are all pushing these car manufacturers to create more complex vehicles that are just more costly to build. You thought electric vehicles were complex? Try these hybrid vehicles where you've got internal combustion, electric, batteries, motors. That's some of the most complex vehicles with all of the safety equipment. The last thing you want to do is have a major breakdown. It could cost you an arm and 3 legs. I would say the vast majority of vehicles today have some form of electric steering. Why is that? What do you think that is? Do you think it's just to be cute? No, it's because, for example, a technology like lane assist. Lane assist is a technology that when you're driving along, and a lot of these are driven by regulations, governments, industry leaders, and a whole host of other people that feel that they know what's best, is you're driving down the road and you get kind of tired and your car starts to drift into the shoulder. Well, that system is there to detect that vehicle's drifting. But how does it get you back into your lane? Well, it needs the ECU and electronics to sense that you're going off kilter, and then it's there designed to turn that steering back in. Well, you've got to think with an old school mechanical steering setup, the systems wouldn't work together. They don't jive. So that's why they now incorporate electric steering for programs like this, for additional technology that's in some cases are mandated, in some cases it's just cute technology. Why do you think car manufacturers like Mazda are coming up in more popularity? Because you can still get a torque converter auto or a manual gearbox, and you could still get a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. Sure, you can upgrade and get a turbo version or a GT and get you a turbo, but it's still a fairly simple vehicle with a slightly dressed down level of technology. We're seeing it everywhere. Toyota's having problems, Ford's having problems, GM's kind of having some problems, but they're doing okay somehow with their electric sales. They're still managing. But every car brand seems to be having its Achilles, and a lot of it boils down to the increased level of complexity of the modern vehicle and the reliability that's attached to that, which it's inversely proportional. You're seeing the increased level of complexity, but at the same time you're seeing the decreased level of reliability, and at the end it all just costs the consumer more and more money. So the simplest way is find something that's a few years old. You find yourself something that's reliable, a Toyota, a Honda, a Mazda, maybe something else that meets the grade, and you can still get yourself a wonderful vehicle. The sad and fortunate part is, unless you really need a brand new vehicle, you probably should find something used. Otherwise, you're likely going to pay more every single year. The fifth story is Jeeps are not selling, period.
After hitting a high in March 2024, shares have fallen by more than half, and shareholders are losing enthusiasm.
It is an understatement to say that H1 2024 results were disappointing and humbling.
How much will it cost the company to get rid of the US inventory?
Profits have fallen by nearly 50%.
And while we've heard some major discounts coming around the chute, the fact remains is a lot of these vehicles are highly overpriced. As a matter of fact, the day supply, according to Cox Automotive, for the industry average is about 81 days supply, whereas Jeep is close to 130 days supply. And that's even in the fall now, after all the major incentives were dropped here in the late summer.
Prices are way up, way out of this world. Stellantis just priced them way beyond what most people, the blue collar, are looking for. In fact, they're looking at more middle upper class, and clearly they missed the target.
But when you look at a Jeep like this, you're thinking to yourself, what is this worth? $30,000, $35,000? But you'd be wrong, because here you've got a Rubicon Jeep Wrangler, but this is a plug-in hybrid, or the 4xe, and these don't come cheap. Of course, you get the hard top that's painted fender flares, and it's a very attractive looking Jeep, but it's a Jeep, part of the old Willys team. And what do we have here? A Wrangler Rubicon X 4xe, whole pile of lists right there. But how much? $85,000? And we're talking about Jeeps that are $80,000, $75,000, $68,000, and the list goes on and on.
These aren't BMWs, they're not Audis, they're not Benzes, they're Jeeps, but they're priced in the world of those other European luxury cars.
And they're trying to pitch them to the consumer, but the consumer isn't having it. During the cost of living crisis, the ever-increasing prices of a lot of these vehicles has put enough people on their heels. The worst part is now with 84-month loan terms, a lot of people are finding themselves actually going out and buying these and learning the hard way. Repossessions are up now. We're hearing repos are now at 6 to 7% on average of all car loans. And the fact remains is many people go immediately negative equity, and those equity problem means that for the first 5 or 6 years of owning this new vehicle, you're underwater. In other words, the Jeep would be worth far less as a new trade-in than it would be to what you actually owe on your loan. In other words, you trade that vehicle in and you've got to top up and spend an additional $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 just to get out of your loan. A lot of other vendors now, like Toyota and Hondas, are starting to realize that people are looking for value, and these don't provide the value, because here we have a Compass Altitude 4x4, and how much is that? $49,000 and 155. That's right, you read that right, $49,000. Who in their right mind would spend $55, $60 out the door on a small little Jeep Compass when you could buy a RAV4 or Toyota or a Honda CR-V and get a more reliable product for even possibly less money? Stellantis built twice as many vehicles, they filled up their lots, and now with higher prices that they applied to those vehicles, thinking that they were going to capitalize, people stopped buying and all this extra inventory started piling up. That's why we're seeing 2022 and 2023 model years, still dozens of them across the industry sitting available. And flashy colors like this great little Jeep here is not going to get it done. Pricing is the big factor here, and quality's been a challenge too. Stellantis has had some struggles on both fronts. But how's that going to change, and what have they actually said? That's right, Stellantis and Jeep have made some recent announcements. And Jeep has increased prices from 2020 to today from $40,000, the average transaction price, to well over $50,000 based on Cox Automotive information. And Antonio Filoso, the CEO of the Jeep brand, is looking at making some more aggressive measures to actually help sales, since we've seen a 9% decline this year alone. And now, due to 5 consecutive years of declining sales, Jeep is looking at implementing a turnaround plan. Jeep plans to sell about 1.5 million Jeeps by 2027, or at least 1 million of those going directly to the United States and Canada. Since 2018, Jeep has seen a decline of 34% in sales overall, which clearly indicates a pricing challenge as well as a quality control challenge. They went from about 973,000 units sold back in 2018 all the way down to 643,000 Jeeps sold this year alone. A major drop, a major decline, and a clear indication that pricing was out to lunch. They're actually knocking off $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, as much as $7,000 on certain trim levels of the Grand Wagoneer, depending if you're getting 4x4, 4x2, the Wagoneer version of the Grand Wagoneer like this. There are some big discounts coming. Do you think it's enough to keep the brand afloat? Jeep is clearly slicing and dicing every one of their Jeeps and every one of their models with the idea and the hope that they can rejuvenate the brand and get the vehicle selling again and hit those targets that they promised by 2027.
Do you think the day will ever come where we may be able to buy ourselves a brand new Jeep Wrangler for $25,000 again? I hope so. I'm still waiting for those days. And with all of that said, be sure to check out that video. That's a great review over on my 6-Speed Car Reviews channel. A vehicle that is actually relatively affordable to drive. Down there, another luxury vehicle if you're looking for something a little bit more upbeat. That's a great option too. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.